Connie Bryan, and you're watching The Connie Bryan Show. Well, we've got a great program in store for you tonight. A little later in the show, you don't want to miss it, I'm going to take you to downtown Davis, California, where you're going to hear from some of the Davistown folk and their opinions about the mind-blowing degree of corruption that we're witnessing right now from the Trump administration, especially in light of this recent murder of the Washington Post columnist Jamal Khashoggi. So stick around, you definitely don't want to miss that. A little later coming up in the show. But first of all, as always, this is the part of the show where I like to welcome all of our viewers in our respective markets to the program. So as always, we want to welcome first and foremost our Sacramento viewers. Thanks to all of you for tuning in. That's where we emanate from. We also want to welcome our Davis, California viewers. Thanks so much for watching. And then a little further over toward the Bay, we want to welcome our Berkeley and our San Francisco viewers. Thanks to all of you for watching. And then down in Southern California, we want to welcome our Santa Barbara viewers. That's where the program began. Over a decade ago, I started in Santa Barbara, so thanks so much to all of you watching. And also we want to welcome our Pasadena viewers and our Long Beach viewers. So thanks so much for tuning into the program down in Southern Cal. Outside of California, the program has grown to 5 markets, and we want to first of all welcome our Portland, Oregon viewers, as always. Thanks so much to all of you for watching. Also Denver Open Media, thanks so much to all of you for tuning into the show. And we're very excited about the fact that the program has been picked up in Washington, D.C., so thanks to all of you in Washington, in the nation's capital, for tuning into the show. Also, Minneapolis, Minnesota. It's got to be cold there right now, so I hope you're bundled up and keeping warm. Thanks so much for watching. And last but not least, we want to welcome our Salem, Massachusetts viewers. And I also want to welcome everybody who's watching worldwide on the web, and wish each and every one of you a blessed and peaceful holiday season. Now, this is the part of the program that we call Fun with the Newspaper, where I like to catch you up on some of the news stories I've been keeping track of out of the newspaper, specifically our Sacramento Bee. Take a look at this first story that I have for you. And this is by Michael Ledke, entitled, "Employees of Google Walk Out in Protest." It says, carrying signs that included a mocking reference to Google's original "Don't Be Evil" motto, thousands of Google employees around the world briefly walked off the job to protest what they said was the tech giant's mishandling of sexual misconduct allegations by some of its executives. It says one of these executives was a director for a Google-affiliated lab known as the X Lab, which is actually the lab that created the self-driving car. The story says that despite accusations of sexual misconduct, Google allowed this executive to remain working at the X Lab, and though he has recently resigned, in his own defense, he said, "Look, that chick, she knew the deal when we hired her to work on the self-driving car. She knew the lab was rated X. I mean, come on, it's right in the freaking name, all right? The X Lab. So why the hell should I apologize?" Now, I'm not saying I did, but hypothetically, so what if I suggested that we keep trying out the back seat of the self-driving car in various positions? I mean, don't we have an ethical obligation to do that kind of testing and research? Why else do you think that young couples are going to want to buy a self-driving car in the first place? All right, take a look at this story here. And this story is out of the Associated Press, featured in the Sacramento Bee recently, entitled "Schumer Hospitalized for Nausea." The story is talking about the comedian Amy Schumer and how she's been hospitalized for severe second trimester nausea and morning sickness. She recently had to apologize to fans in Dallas, Texas for having to cancel her stand-up show. And I just want to say, Amy, don't sweat it, girl, don't. I mean, we can all relate with something like that. Besides, most of us would have probably had to stay home also. Because much like your second trimester morning sickness, most Americans are suffering from second Trump-mester morning, noon, and night sickness, okay? So, Mueller, I just got to reach out to you here, Bob Mueller, the special prosecutor. Hurry up, please. We, the majority who did not elect this corrupt douchebag in chief, we've been so good all year, and we've been so patient all year for the last 2 years. You know, basically, yes, what I'm trying to say is at this point, Bob Mueller is America's Santa Claus. And all we want for Christmas is for Santa to finally indict this piece of shit who's making a mockery of our nation in our White House and the things that we value in our morals and our ethics. You know, and then everyone can feel so much better for 2019. So everybody make sure you leave cookies out this Christmas Eve for Mueller. None of this store-bought, Keebler chocolate chip crap. Making some really good homemade delights, all right? Okay, take a look at this story here. A very concerning story by Seth Borenstein of the Associated Press, recently featured in our Sacramento Bee, and it's entitled "Climate Report Warns of Growing Risk and Terrible Costs for the U.S." It says, as people rebuild after the 2 major hurricanes and California's catastrophic wildfires recede, a new federal report is warning that these types of extreme weather disasters are worsening. The federal report, known as the National Climate Assessment, says that the last few years have smashed records for damaging weather, costing insurance companies more than $400 billion just since 2015 alone. So under this prediction model, that would be a forward estimate of around $1 trillion starting in 2015 and looking forward, let's say 3 more years. That's going to be like around $1 trillion that the big insurance companies, the big insurance industry is going to have to shell out, while they still, of course, have to make good on saving us 15% or more on our car insurance anytime we call them, right? But here's the thing. You see, karma is really a bitch. Thanks to Mother Nature, now these greedy big insurance 1%ers are going to finally get a taste of their own medicine. They've been gouging the rest of us for years now, all the while they couldn't care less that we couldn't keep up with the cost of living, but now they're going to see how it feels because they can't keep up with the cost of disasters. See, that's funny. We can't keep up with the cost of living, and they can't keep up with the cost of disasters. Okay, I thought it was fun. Take a look at this. Speaking of increasingly dangerous weather, you may not have heard about this one. It's by a story by Caleb Jones and Jennifer Simcoe Kelleher of the Associated Press, and it's entitled "Deadly Typhoon Slams Northern Mariana Islands." Under the picture here, it says debris is scattered after Super Typhoon U2 hit the U.S. Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands in Garapan, Saipan. Talk about a dangerous storm. Fortunately, no one was killed by the largest piece of the debris that was flying around, which appears to be a giant baked potato. Look at the size of that thing. The story says residents of the island Commonwealth are bracing for months without electricity or running water, but the mayor says this giant baked potato is a blessing in disguise, like manna from heaven. He said obviously it could have killed somebody, but it's still staying pretty hot with the aluminum foil around it. He says he thinks it can feed the island residents for quite a while they wait for the power to be restored. They're just asking for some help, a little bit of help, a little emergency relief, maybe some airdrops of butter, sour cream, and some bacon bits. So if you guys would want to donate to that cause. All right, take a look at this story here by the New York, last but not least, this story by the New York Times, featured in our Sacramento Bee recently, and it's entitled "Trump Official Involved in Saudi Sanctions Resigns." It says a top White House official responsible for U.S. policy towards Saudi Arabia has now resigned. A move that may suggest fractures inside the Trump administration over the response to the brutal killing of Washington Post columnist Jamal Khashoggi. It says the official, who is identified as Kirsten Frontenrose, had pushed for tough measures against the Saudi government. Now, as most of you hopefully are aware, you should be aware by now, the CIA has officially decreed that they've determined there's no doubt that the Saudi Crown Prince ordered the murder of Mr. Khashoggi. What was Trump's response to this confirmed intel by the CIA? Well, maybe he did and maybe he didn't. And we're not going to change our policy toward them. You know. Can you imagine for just a second what would happen if something like this had occurred under President Obama's term in office? What do you think Republicans would do if Obama had sided with the Saudi Crown Prince after a columnist for, well, we probably have to pick a conservative paper, right, for them to give a damn? So let's say a Wall Street Journal columnist was murdered and dismembered with a bone saw, and our CIA confirmed the Crown Prince ordered the murder of that American journalist. What do you think Republicans would do then if Obama just kept playing footsie with Saudi Arabia and the Crown Prince? What do you think that Republicans would do in a case like that? But after Trump lights a fuse over and over again with his dangerous mantra that the press are the enemy of the people, Trump does it, and all of you just dutifully look the other way in the face of such immoral evil by Saudi Arabia? Why? Because the columnist worked for the Washington Post and not Fox News? You gotta be kidding me, people! This can't be happening. Only one Republican in the Trump administration had the balls to do the right thing, and it's a girl? You know, and that doesn't surprise me. It's obvious, though, that the Saudi Crown Prince has grabbed Trump and all the rest of you, by your pussies. All right. Stick around. We got a lot of good stuff coming up. Like I said earlier, I want to wish each and every one of you a wonderful holiday season. Thanks so much for tuning in. Right now we're going to take you to downtown Davis, California, and you're going to hear from some of the locals how they feel about this level of corruption that we're seeing currently from the Trump administration. So I think you're going to like this. Stick around. No channel surfing. Hey there, what's your name?
Hi, I'm Jonathan London.
Hi, Jonathan. So you're a local Davis resident?
I am.
You have any thoughts as we're approaching the end of Trump's second year in office regarding the corruption we're seeing from this administration, especially in light of this Saudi Arabian murder of a Washington Post reporter?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's really dreadful. I think that the chickens are coming home to roost in terms of that sort of crony capitalism that Trump represents. Whether it's Saudi Arabia or his hotels or his golf courses, that he's trying to run the country as a business and as a corrupt business at that.
It's just amazing. I mean, there's members of Congress that have now sued him for the emoluments clause violations, and it's just one thing after another that Republicans seem to just be looking the other way, and not caring. I mean, if we had seen any of this from Obama. What do you think that their reaction would have been?
Any the smallest bit, if that had been coming from Obama, people would have been up in arms. But I think there's kind of an exhaustion level of like it can't get any worse, and then it does get worse, and there's sort of the new outrage of the day. It's kind of hard to keep our outrage up.
I just can't believe what I'm seeing, and I feel like right now, many of us, the majority of America, feel like Bob Mueller is Santa Claus, you know, and we're saying, look, we've been so good and so patient. It's time for you to
come down the chimney and give us our present.
Give us the present
before he gets fired, which is sort of the really scary thing that is possible now, given the new leadership in the Department of Justice.
Right.
With the sort of Trump toady of Whitaker.
And with the concerns of climate change, and he appoints somebody who's a lobbyist for the coal industry to be the head of the Environmental Protection Agency.
Yeah.
What?
Well, it feels like Bizarro World, which actually is the comic store just behind you. It's like the exact shadow realm of the people who you would think would be that people who would be regulated by these agencies are now the ones who are in charge of them, whether it's the coal companies or
we've never seen it this corrupt.
The agricultural commodity groups in the Department of Agriculture or the forestry groups in charge of Forest Service and things like that. It's just this kind of incredible, revolving door from industry into government.
Hey, you guys.
Hello there.
What's your name?
My name is Mark Tebbett.
Hey, Mark. Do you have a thought or two, now that we're approaching the 2-year point in the Trump administration, regarding the corruption we've been seeing and what needs to be done about it?
Well, my thought is that we're a halfway point, and I'm just focusing on getting through the next 2 years. And I really can't focus on all the things that he's done because they change so fast.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping for major change after that. And maybe with this blue wave, mini blue wave, can lead us to the next one. And I think people will be even more inspired in 2 years.
And hold them to the flame.
I hope so.
Let's go over here and say hi to this young lady. What's your name?
I'm Maria.
Hey, Maria.
Hi, I am excited about active transportation and the fact that people are making choices. They're making choices about how we move ourselves around, and we don't have to be oil dependent.
Despite the resistance from Trump's.
I mean, we have free choice. We can choose what we're going to do. We can choose whether or not we're going to keep plugging in cars, because that takes the electricity.
Yeah.
And
what do you think about Trump's administration reversing that with the EPA, reversing the emission standards that Obama put into place?
Well, I'm hoping Gavin gives him a good
Gavin
run.
Newsom.
Yeah, I hope.
Yeah, because
Gavin
Jerry Brown has been
run.
Jerry Brown has been a very good de facto president, wouldn't you say?
He has, man, and he has stood up to it, and it's time. And I give them a lot of credit. It is good to see Gavin in play, and I think he'll
carry the torch. He'll carry Jerry's torch.
He definitely has, and I think he can march forward. And I hope we see some exciting things. And I think young people are definitely doing some exciting things. They are making choices. And not just waiting till somebody else does something about it.
The blue wave, like your friend mentioned, resulted in a lot of younger folks getting
doing something,
elected to the House of Representatives.
Doing something.
And they're going to do something about this.
And a lot of women. Yay.
Yes, isn't that awesome? That's what we need, is more estrogen. We need more estrogen. Don't you think so? Don't you think so?
Yes.
Of course.
What's your name?
My name is Millie Bronstein.
Hey, Millie.
And we have really, I've been heartened by the people who've been awakened to the fact that you do have to be actively aware of politics and exercise your right in the United States to make choices, that you need to know the politicians that you're electing,
because look what happens.
I think
you have to vote.
If you don't
you can't
vote,
be apathetic.
That's right. You cannot be apathetic now.
This is the
There's no
result.
way to make a change. Yes.
I mean, the majority voted for Hillary, and so we've got to do something about this electoral college that has burned us twice now.
Well, and there's also, even the way this election has turned out, this current one is now really taking a look at voters' rights and the holes that are in our system.
Right.
Even though we say that we're the greatest nation,
Right.
I think it's made people recognize maybe we have not got everything just right now.
Exactly. And what's your name, sir?
Dan Bronstein.
Hey, Dan. Do you have a few thoughts?
I sure do. I always have a few.
Awesome.
I just spent 3 years as state chair of an organization called Healthcare for All California.
Oh, fantastic.
And what we advocate are reforms to our health insurance system.
Yes.
Because more people get screwed up by their health insurers.
And what are your thoughts about the Trump administration and what you're seeing
what the
as
Trump
it relates to
administration did is when Congress refused to take down the Affordable Care Act
Right.
and get rid of it, what the administration has done is to kill it by little pieces, by taking a little piece of this and a little piece of that.
trying to
selling
a million cuts?
Yes.
How do they say?
Also selling phony baloney insurance policies, the so-called short-term insurance policies. So people are getting screwed up by that very easily, and that's very dangerous.
It is.
Very dangerous for people.
This administration is dangerous in so many ways. Hey there.
Hello,
Hey, what's your name?
I'm Juan Acosta.
Hey, Juan. Are you a student here at UC Davis?
I'm actually a student at San Francisco State
Oh,
University.
fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm shooting for my cable TV program, which actually recently was picked up also in San Francisco.
There we go. That's good.
Juan, do you have any thoughts on the Trump administration as we're approaching the 2-year point?
I mean, I have a few, a lot, I guess, to put into
Yeah.
words.
Let me hear some of them.
I believe he's created a lot of divide. He's been
Yeah.
dividing a lot of people. He's been attacking minorities a lot.
Absolutely.
I'm more concerned about the transgender community, the LGBTQ community, who's seeing a lot of challenges within the administration,
Absolutely.
especially right now. There was recently his administration released a memo that was attacking transgender folks, trying to erase their identity. I also disagree with his.
He's trying to ban them from the military.
He
also.
is right now too. Again, I believe as well he's attacking immigrant families a lot, immigrant kids who have no platform for them to defend themselves, and
Right.
he's attacking those who have been attacked throughout history, and
Trying to separate them from their
from their
parents
families. And it's
in the most
something-
vulnerable time.
It really is, and it's just hurting people. It's creating a lot of hostility within groups and within our country, and I believe
And isn't it just immoral?
it is
you
immoral,
know?
and it's repugnant for him to be doing that as the
How
president.
can the family values party that they like to call themselves, right? The Republicans, they love to toss that word around. How can they call themselves that? The family values when they look the other way and stuff.
There's really no values when they're trying to claim that that's what they're all about, and it's not.
It's just
exactly that.
so hypocritical.
It truly is.
And many of them are evangelicals, who claim to be all about love when it's not.
And they
They're not.
use the word of God to use it as an excuse for their thoughts, for their ideas, or for their actions.
Yeah,
it
and for
really
their
is
hate
not
toward
it.
transgender and the
immigrant
gay community.
everyone. It's hatred towards everyone that isn't like them, that isn't the same skin color as them. They feel threatened by
Right.
people who are not who they are trying to mold people to be.
Are you thinking you might consider going into politics, Juan?
I actually recently drafted a proclamation for the city of Woodland to proclaim June as LGBTQ Pride Month for the first time in the town's history, and I got it to pass
Fantastic.
by the city council. So I have always been interested in politics, and I hope I can create some sort of change.
Well,
later
I'm
on in my
heartened by
lifetime.
your concerns as a young person.
Thank you.
You are setting the right example, Juan. So
Thank you
keep
so
it
much.
up. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And any of you have any thoughts on the murder of the Washington Post reporter and Trump refusing to acknowledge it, even though the CIA has confirmed that it was, in fact, carried out by the Crown Prince?
I just think he's going to take the money. So that
He only cares about the money and
and the job. Yeah, I think so. So we're going to have to go with that. And yeah, that's a hard one. That
He's
is
gonna-
very hard. Yeah.
it's maybe one of the most corrupt things we've seen from him.
Yes, from another thing. Yeah, I agree.
Take a look at this story here out of Istanbul, Turkey, by Tamer El Gabashi of the Washington Post, entitled "Saudi Arabia Admits That Journalist Died in Consulate." It says the Saudi government acknowledged early Saturday that Washington Post journalist Jamal Khashoggi was killed while visiting the Saudi consulate in Istanbul, saying he died during a, quote, fist fight. Silence! I speak now on behalf of Saudi royal family and Prince Mohammed bin Salman. We would like to make official statement to the world, give story now of what happened to Washington Post reporter Jamal Khashoggi at our consulate in Turkey. But first, let us all take reverent moment of silence. Okay, that's enough. After our thorough and exhaustive 20-minute royal family investigation, for which we'd like to, of course, thank your President Donald Trump for buying us time, we can now confirm Jamal Khashoggi, Washington Post reporter, did in fact die, but only as a result of an unfortunate fist fight over a disagreement.
Excuse me, Hallie Jackson, NBC News. Was this fist fight before or after you used a bone saw to cut off all his fingers? Because you can't make a fist to have a fist fight without fingers.
Look, I was not aware we would be allowing questions from the fake news.
Well, you can't call us fake news. The Turkish government has an audio recording of the murder from Khashoggi's Apple Watch that recorded the whole thing.
Well, how do you know it was Khashoggi in recording? Could be recording made of someone else by Turks after the fact.
Because it was confirmed being sent from Khashoggi's Apple Watch to his cell phone, which was in the possession of his wife outside the consulate.
So, it is just recording. You have no video. So how can you know we were cutting off his fingers?
Because it has Khashoggi's voice saying, "I'm Jamal Khashoggi, Washington Post reporter," and he screams, "Oh my God," and says, "What are you doing with that effing bone saw? Stop, you're cutting off my fingers."
How you say, very annoying, inquisitive reporter. I can see you have many questions. May we invite you to our Saudi consulate after the news conference for a private one-on-one interview where we promise to answer all your good questions over dinner.
Yeah, no thanks. Not that inquisitive. Look, it was 15 against 1. Can you explain why you'd need to bring a hit squad with a bone saw?
Okay, shut the f*** up now, Jesus. Okay, so we wait now. Now we wait to make to tell story until we hear all of this so-called recording that Turkey supposedly has. And only after we have listened to all of recording, we come back and give full official royal family story then. Right now, it's just fist fight over argument about Kanye West. And as for bone saw, let me clear that up. Everyone knows you bring bone saw like toothbrush when you make trip to Turkey, because goat meat is that very tough there. No more questions.